Jovial and you are watching Beabooklover. Friends, today I am gonna talk about the book which Trump has repeatedly denounced, describing it as a political hit job, a marked contrast with previous presidents who have generally cooperated with Woodward. Yes friends, I am talking about the much anticipated book Rage by Mr. Woodward. No doubt you all know him very well because he is an American investigative journalist. He also separately worked for the Washington Post as a reporter since 1971 and currently has the title of Associate Editor. He has written 19 books on American politics, 13 of which have topped bestseller lists, and Rage is his forthcoming 2020 book about the presidency of Donald Trump. This book is the sequel to his 2018 book Fear, Trump in the White House. It is due to be published on September 15, 2020 by Simon Schuster. The title of this book is derived from a conversation that Woodward had with Trump in March 2016. Woodward contended that a lot of angst, rage and distress was present in the Republican Party, to which Trump replied that I bring rage out. I do bring rage out. I always have. I don't know if that's an asset or a liability, but whatever it is, I do. I also bring great unity out ultimately. In research for the book, Woodward interviewed Trump 18 times. Simon and Schuster stated that the book is the result of hundreds of hours of interviews with first-hand witnesses as well as participants' notes, emails, diaries, calendars, and confidential documents. Now let's have a look on few takeaways from the much anticipated book Rage. Point number 1. Mr. Trump's no empathy about the black people's pain. Mr. Woodward writes that he tried to coax the president into speaking about his understanding of race, but Mr. Trump would only say over and over that the economy had been positive for black people before the coronavirus led to an American crisis, and pointed out that when he asked Mr. Trump if he was working to understand the anger and the pain particularly black people feel in the USA, he replied, "No, I don't feel that at all." Next point, Mr. Trump intentionally downplayed severity of COVID-19. This book shows that the President Trump admits to knowing weeks before the first US death that the coronavirus was dangerous, and despite knowing that the virus was deadly and highly contagious, he often publicly said the opposite, insisting that the virus would go away quickly. Mr. Woodward says that on March 19, Trump told him that he wanted to always play it down because he didn't want to create a panic. And while he was saying publicly that children were almost immune to the virus, he told Mr. Woodward, "Just today and yesterday, some startling facts came out. It's not just older, young people too, plenty of young people." And in April, as Mr. Trump began to urge the country to reopen, he said to Mr. Woodward of the virus, "It's so easily transmissible, you won't even believe it." Next point, disclosing thoughts of two of the president's top officials that Trump was dangerous and unfit. According to the book, Mr. Mattis told Mr. Coates in May 2019, "Maybe at some point we are going to have to stand up and speak out, and there may be a time when we have to take collective action." Ultimately, neither official spoke out. Next point, Mr. Trump denigrated the US military and his top generals. Mr. Woodward wrote that in a discussion with him, Mr. Trump called the US military suckers for paying extensive costs to protect South Korea, and says that he was stunned when the president said of South Korea, "We are defending you, we are allowing you to exist." He also reports that Mr. Trump chewed out Mr. Coates after a briefing with reporters about the threat that Russia presented to the nation's election system. Next point, Mr. Trump's relationships with the leaders of North Korea and Russia. Mr. Woodward says that Mr. Trump provided him with the details of letters between himself and the North Korean leader, Kim Jong-un. in which the two men fawn over each other. Mr. Kim wrote in one letter that their relationship was like a fantasy film. He also says that in describing his chemistry with Mr. Kim, Mr. Trump said, "You met a woman in 1 second, you know whether or not it's going to happen." Mr. Trump also complained about the various investigations into ties between his campaign and Russia. Says that they were affecting his abilities as president and his relationship with President Vladimir V. Putin of Russia. Mr. Trump said, "Putin said to me in a meeting, it's a shame because I know it's very hard for you to make a deal with us." And he replied, "You're right." So it was about the much anticipated book read, which is due to be published on September 15, 2020. Guys, I hope you like this video. Please like, share and comment below. And if you have not subscribed yet, please do it just now. That's it for today. Thank you. See you soon.